The 2020 Minority Health Film Festival offers a diverse variety of films and events that we just wouldn't be able to offer in the in-person cinema experience. But I think what really makes it unique is the focus not only on public health issues, but the issues that really concern communities of color. If you're looking for a reason to engage or to try it out, this is the perfect time. Just go to mkefilm.org/MHFF.
Hi everyone, welcome to today's head-to-head screen talk pack. My name is Tracy. I will be today's moderator. And for those of you who haven't watched the movie, Head-to-Head is a story that talked about 6 women facing the trauma of hair loss. You can access the movie by going to headtoheadfilm.com. And today our conversation is going to focus on self-identities and the intersection of identities and its relationship with our mental health, especially among women of color. So I'm going to invite our panelists to join us one by one. So let's welcome Margot.
Hello, thank you for having me.
And Margot, could you briefly introduce yourself?
My name is Margot Greer. I am the founder of Woven Hair. Woven is a socially responsible hair extension company, and I've had the pleasure of being a part of this documentary with these amazing women joining me today.
Thank you. And next, I'm going to invite Leah.
Hi, how are you?
Good, Leah. Can you briefly introduce yourself to the audience?
My name is Leah Scott. I've been a lupus patient for 38 years now. Part of my presentation was hair loss and the dramatic changes that it forced me into and that helped me grow. I write children's books. I lately released a lupus book called Lucy Lupus of Trista Lee that helps to explain some of the things that lupus patients go through, among them being hair loss.
We're really happy to have you today. Now I'm going to invite the next panelist, which is Ebony.
Hi, thank you so much for having me.
Hi, Ebony. Could you give a brief introduction about yourself?
Yes, my name is Ebony Jean. I am from Michigan. I am a national advocate for the alopecia community. I was diagnosed 25 years ago, and I also serve as a beauty influencer.
Thank you. And now let's welcome our last panelist, Andrea.
Hey, how's it going?
Hi. Andrea, could you briefly introduce yourself?
Sure, yeah. My name is Andrea Alberti. I am the director of Head to Head. I'm also briefly in Head to Head. I've had alopecia since the age of 4 or 5. And it's just been a wild ride doing this, and I couldn't have asked to do it with many people for sure.
So today is a great opportunity for us to get together, and for all the audience, who are interested about all our panelists' story. So feel free to leave your question in the comments area, and then all our panelists will answer them by the order. When I was watching the movie, because today we're talking about identity and its relation with our mental health. So when I was watching the movie, I was thinking about, in terms of identity, we all hold many different identities at the same time. So to start today's conversation, I'm just curious about, for all our panelists, could you share about what identities do you hold at this stage of your life that speak the most about who you are? So,
Wow. I am finally older. I'm a wife and mom. My child is almost an adult, so that's some pressure off. I'm not a mom in the midst of all the elementary and high school drama, but a part of that has to do with, or the part I'm focusing on in relation to that is the stress level. Um, Lupus is stress reactive, and a lot of lupus patients find that what generates the most stress for them um, is the hair loss itself, but that comes from the worry and the not taking care of yourself and the pushing yourself beyond your limits and those types of things that a lot of women do, but which has an adverse effect on us in a bigger way. And my role now is comfortably mentor. I can present myself as the roadmap to get where I am now, which is a place of peace, a place of acceptance. Part of my journey was learning to accept this and not keep forcing the ideal that I held as my standard of beauty and my goal in attractiveness. I can't do that. My hair isn't that. My skin isn't that. It's what I have, and my role now is to teach those behind me and alongside of me that it's okay to be fine with what you have. You just have to remember that the person inside of you is the essence that people are able to see besides your outer appearance. And if you generate peace and contentment with your own space and your own condition, then it it relaxes the people around you, for one, and it makes life easier for you. If you can just look at yourself and not see the failings as defined by society and just see who you are and know that that is the beauty of what you are and who you are, and continue to grow from that. That's quite a hat to wear. But I don't care because I've got a nice cool do and the hat doesn't bother me at all. But it's a nice place to be at. I never actually acknowledged the transition from lupus patient and victim and sufferer and um, disabled person, and all those things mean so much less to me now than they did 10, 15, 20 years ago. 20 years ago, I would have been a wreck about this. I was trying to make my hair work. I was trying to make my skin work. I hated the spots. I hated the lesions. My hair isn't gonna grow back in those spots. And I was trying to find anything to make it do that. And it's not, it was a lot of wasted energy. Don't do it. It's just not feasible. Be happy in what you have accomplished for yourself. Be happy in what gives you joy. Be happy in what brings you peace. Namaste.
Wow, thanks so much for sharing that. And we hear a lot of, like you said, like the inner peace and the inner acceptance that, come from this journey of accepting who you are and welcoming and embracing the joy. So I'm gonna have the same question go to the next panelist. Whoever is ready, you can just.
I would say my identities that I embody that come to mind first are Black woman. I'm a small business owner. I am from Chicago. I'm a cancer survivor. I am a yoga teacher and a soon-to-be wife.
Congrats.
Congratulations.
You'll be a beautiful bride.
Oh, thank you. Oh, thank you.
Ebony, do you want to go next?
Sure, definitely. One of the identities that I hold now is being an advocate for the alopecia community as well as a mentor. Same with Margot. I am a Black woman, and one thing about the Black community, we are huge on appearance. We definitely like to identify ourselves with hair, and Black hair has been difficultly like trying to accept in this society. Growing up, I thought I was nothing without my hair. And people have said, you're ugly without it. And, what happened to your hair? Just, asking all these absurd questions. And for a very long time, I didn't feel beautiful. I felt inadequate and I had nothing to offer to society. But now that I am an adult and I've grown into myself, well aware of the times and just having that self-acceptance of inner beauty and things of that nature, I've grown to learn that hair does not define who you are. So many people use hair as a ways of owning their beauty, which is awesome. That's great. But being in the hair loss community, you're definitely humbled on many levels. So I am grateful that now I can be a mentor to those with alopecia just like me. I remember being that kid growing up and having everyone teasing you, asking you questions that are difficult to answer, and trying to find that community, knowing where you belong. So I'm very grateful that I can finally be at that place of peace, acceptance, learning to heal from it, and knowing how to talk about it.
Thank you so much, Ebony. And now we're going to go to Andrea.
Yeah. No, I think this is a really good question because I think it's something that I've struggled with for a really long time. Particularly feeling like having a fear of my identity as somebody with alopecia, with an autoimmune disease, that being the only thing I identify myself with. And so it was a really long struggle to figure out how to balance showing that part of my life, but then also making sure that everyone else sees the other things that I am, and I think that's kind of been the struggle with making this documentary, is that it's, I had kind of found a way to kind of make alopecia live in my life in the way that I felt comfortable with it. And then doing this documentary has kind of forced it to be a little bit more present in my life than I was, initially wanting to deal with, which has, it created a lot of struggle, to be honest. I definitely, things that I thought I had gotten over about it kind of reared its ugly head again in a really strange way that was kind of debilitating for a while. But then, after kind of reckoning with it, I've kind of found a really interesting place that I'm able to live with that identity. Because, now if I'm at my work, I wear a wig and nobody knows that I have alopecia, as far as I know. Most of them don't really know that I'm making a documentary. It's not a fact that, I share with myself in that space. But then in most other spaces in my life, now I find myself wearing a wig a lot less frequently, especially around family and friends, and even going out in public, kind of doing it less and less. And I think it's having that freedom to play with what your identity is something that I think is really crucial for people to have. And I know that's not something that everybody can do with all their identities. There's some things that you can't just put a wig on, but it is nice to have that option for at least one aspect of my life. But yeah, it's been interesting kind of figuring out how to use it in a way that I feel comfortable with, but then is also kind of feeling free to kind of get rid of it when I don't want it.
That's our next segment.
Thanks so much for this for what you just shared, and I'm just very touched by how everybody kind of talked about their journey of coming to accept this identity and also find a lot of strengths and resiliency coming out from this identity. Um, Ebony, you just mentioned, yes, you just mentioned something about beauty standard um, and in terms of, I'm wondering if you can talk more about, like what's it like to live in a society where, mm, the beauty standard on women, and sometimes especially women of color, is very narrow and limited. And how does that impact your experience navigating with the experience of like hair loss?
Thank you so much for that question. Being a Black woman dealing with alopecia, you have a lot of comparisons, and a lot of people like to play the comparison game. So it's already hard enough, being accepted in this society, being, a Black woman with everything that we have going on in our communities today, but also being an alopecia, you're measured up against people's unethical beauty standards. They say you have to look like this in order to be accepted. I've noticed that a lot of people put more emphasis on Black women with natural hair, and that's beautiful. I have so many friends who have gone natural, with the kinky curls and things like that. I think it's so beautiful, but they immediately disqualify women who look like me, and I think that's unfair because Black women are beautiful regardless of our appearance, whether we're bald, whether we have hair down to our backs, or if we're team natural, whatever the case scenario may be. And now that we're in the age of social media, that plays a very critical role in the self esteem of girls and women everywhere, especially within the Black community, because you're taught that you have to have a certain body type, you have to have a certain length of hair, or have a certain complexion. There's a lot of different elements that tie into that. But being a Black woman, I have definitely learned to love who I am, regardless of what people say, regardless of what society may tell me. Because for a very long time, they've said that Black women, dark women especially, are unattractive. So I've grown to learn how to just silence out the noise and to embrace who I am. I love my chocolate skin. I love my bald head, because for years so many people have made fun of me because of it and tried pulling off my wigs. But now that I'm at that age where bald is accepted and I can finally be confident, everyone keeps saying, don't go back to the wigs. You're beautiful. You're more beautiful without it. And that makes me feel good because for so many years I've tried to fit in with the norm, but I'd rather stand out.
Thank you so much, Ebony. And also, I'm wondering for the rest of panelists, what's your idea about the current days of the beauty standard and its impact on how we see ourselves and also how we evaluate other people. Oh yes, Leah.
Um, I am living with, well, my mom, she doesn't live with me, but my mom is 89. Her standard of beauty is so dated. And what I'm faced with now that I'm spending more time with her in the last couple years, but what I'm faced with most often is her inability to accept that I have another standard of acceptance, another standard of beauty. She loves what I wear. She's not upset that I gained pounds, and she's very loving and caring. But the first thing she says when she sees me is, "Oh, you didn't wear your hair. You're so much prettier with hair." And I've given that up. That's really a losing battle. I was trying to, 360 her, 180 her head, like, no, mom, this is okay now. But besides her, I think representing myself in the natural gives the other women around me a sense that they're not in control of everybody else's beauty. They're not in control of what everybody else accepts or sees or even desires to have for themselves. I've had friends tell me with a head full of hair now, girl, I wish I could just take all of this off. I'm like, go ahead. And they think I'm kidding, and I'm really not. But this is fine. They just, as far as making a place for, not just for alopecia, not just for the differences caused by autoimmunity, but to make a place for, hush, Josh, to make a place for women who have an other standard, a not quite what you would have expected way of presenting who they are. And as far as being helpful in general, I think it's been a road of positive reinforcement, a road of becoming able to see yourself and present that to the world in general. You can be an advocate for everything that you are. Ebony already said that, but even Margot, maybe it's not the autoimmunity that is paramount, but the effects that it had, that your journey had on you are the same effects. It's not just what caused it or that it is, it's how you respond to it. And everything in life, look, I'm almost 60. I've been doing what everybody does, like, oh girl, I'm just 20. Every year is a badge of honor. Every year is a sign of grace. Every year is something else to celebrate, because I was there and now I'm here and you guys are here with me, and we've come so far as to be able to impact the communities that we're in and to show them something they haven't really been paying attention to, but which is very real in our society and in all of our lives, but also in the lives of the people that care for us. And I know the bond of sisterhood, I don't have it naturally, but I've adopted some sisters. But Andrea being able to work with her sister had to be kind of cathartic. Am I right? So,
Yeah.
I mean, it's just a lot of teaching that comes with having a condition nobody else seems to understand. And all of that comes around to our appearance, because that's what we present to the community. And I forgot the question. But I mean, I want to stick to the specifics of the thought, the spirit of the question. And it has to do with growth, and it has to do with teaching and learning.
Mm.
Those are the bottom lines that are going to come if you just, you got to hang in there, because that's what we're living with. We just live to that point.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much, Leah. And actually, we just got a question from our audience. So this is from Facebook, Tierney Wang. She asked, there were a lot of emotional moments during this film. Thank you all for opening up about your very personal and vulnerable experiences. I would love to understand the process, how this film came about. What were the challenges with making this film? Did you experience any challenges because of this process?
It's a really thoughtful question. Thank you. I feel like I could answer this pretty well. So I started a company, and I needed help. So I hired a marketing branding team, which was Amelia Street Studio, to help me with my branding, my logo, even the name, my website, all the things. And so, when I met Amelia Street, we like hit it off immediately. We connected on, many levels, but my mission for my company really resonated with Amelia Street for obvious reasons. And so after they had helped me with all of my all the marketing things, Katie, who is the producer, I don't know how, maybe Andrea can give me the inside info and how it actually came about, but I got an email from Katie. Actually, maybe it was a call, but she's like, can we do a documentary? Because I was planning on going back to India. That's where I source all of the hair. And Katie was like, can we come? Because we want to film this and create something amazing. I don't know if what she thought she was creating at that time is what is currently living, which is just incredible, because it is an amazing piece of art. But yeah, I think that's how it came about. Maybe Andrea, you have something else to add. I don't know.
Yeah, that was definitely the nugget where it started, for sure. Yeah, it was honestly going to be a film just about like ethics of hair, and was kind of going to be like an extension of the Good Hair documentary that Chris Rock did. It was like kind of falling on that line, and then it just kind of started slowly morphing into something else. And I think it was almost good that we like had never made anything like this before and didn't know what we were doing, because we really did just kind of fall into this story that we ended up telling. Because yeah, I mean, I think when we first started talking about it, my like greatest fear was that I would have to like end up in it somehow, because I was like, how can I make a movie about hair and then not answer questions about my own self? And so in the back of my head, I kind of always like knew that I probably would have to include myself in some way. But yeah, so I think it just kind of grew into like trying to figure out how to tell my point of view, my story, but like really kind of find a way to tell it through other women, because our experiences were so similar. Even though maybe the way that we kind of like deal with it or where we come from, is like drastically different. It's just the emotions were all there, and the identity issues were all there for all of us. And so that kind of made it morph into something, completely different. And like I had said earlier, like it was definitely a really rough go of it for me personally, just kind of figuring out how I was going to be in this, and how I was going to really make this documentary fit into my life. And like, like I can't like go around, I'd be going on first dates and telling people like, oh, what do you do? I was like, oh, I'm working this documentary. And they're like, oh, what's it about? And I'm like,
don't worry,
it's about hair. And I'm like, oh, why do you want to do that? And can't really say, oh, no reason. But so yeah, I think that was probably my own personal challenge was that. And then also the challenge of just like doing these women's stories justice was always just a tremendous fear that I had, and really figuring out how to tell their stories in a way that felt honest, in a way that didn't feel one, condescending or like patronizing, or even not every single story needs to have like a finale happy ending. Everybody's stories kind of end at like, this is where they are now, and every single woman in this film lands in a different place. But you can tell that they're kind of all at peace, like the happy ending isn't just like, and everyone stops wearing a wig and beauty standards change and like everything's a Dove ad, yeah, that's like, not realistic. So I think really the goal was like wanting it to be wherever you are is okay, and where you land, if you land where you're going to keep on wearing wigs and that's kind of where you're happy, then like I don't want people to feel shame for not kind of being where, somebody else is at, on the other end of the spectrum. There's people who, have general beauty standards. And then I feel like there's this other side of things where people feel like they need to force people to reckon with themselves. And we need those people in the world, but I don't want to force everyone to like have to wear their trauma as a badge, Yeah.
Can I say the whole time that I was struggling to find hair that was becoming and comfortable, and this is just after accepting that my hair wasn't going to grow back naturally. During that time, I kind of wanted somebody to tell me, you have to take that off now. I mean, I think from hindsight, I could have benefited from someone who was strong in that way.
Mm-hmm.
But like you said, Andrea, you can't force a person into their comfort zone. And for a long time, it wasn't that battle to whether to wear a wig or not. It was just that I had to wear one, and I had to find one that made me feel like myself and allowed me to grow into the person who'd be able to walk down the street without it.
Yes.
It didn't just happen. And the film is wonderful in addressing each of us where we were when you met us, because some of us have even grown. Well, we've all grown since then also. And getting to a place where you can stand on your own truth, if it's in a wig, is just as important as being able to stand without one. Mm-hmm. So God bless you all for making it possible to make those comparisons within and without, and be able to find a balance for yourself. And we wouldn't have done it. We wouldn't have faced it. We wouldn't have tried so hard or been so conscious had it not been for this chance to be with you in this kind of setting. Mm-hmm. So thanks a lot.
Yeah, that's awesome. No, I think that's it for sure.
I definitely agree with everyone. At the beginning of this documentary, I was in a completely different place, but I would definitely say that it was the start of my healing process, because at the time of filming this, I had just lost my grandmother, and in 2016, that's when I went public in front of everybody, for the very first time. One thing that my mom has always taught me was to be comfortable in my own skin and to not let anyone else rush me, to reveal myself. Because some people have said to me, if you can't reveal yourself to me by this time, then, our relationship cannot continue. And I think that is very rude. People don't realize how much their words affect us, as hair loss patients. And being in this film has shown me a lot about myself, about other people, how to cope with alopecia. I'm so grateful for this project because it gives people the chance to see the inside of my life. And, transparency is key. That's one thing that it takes, to overcoming your situations, is being transparent. And the more transparent you are, the more healing will take place for you as well as the other person. So I'm very grateful for this opportunity, the amazing people I've met along the way, the growth that has taken place. I've gotten some amazing feedback, and I'm grateful for where I'm at right now.
It's beautiful, Ebony.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yes.
Yeah. So, and also as audience, also myself, we're also speaking for myself, really grateful for all of you guys to, show up and make this space for us too, to, like to be vulnerable in front of the camera and to be so authentic. And I feel like that definitely create a lot of influence and impact and marks all the people who are watching the film too. So thank you to you all too. Continue with our question. I'm very curious about kind of like Andrea kind of mentioned, like you all share the experience of hair loss, but at the same time, there's also very unique aspects to your own personal experience. So for Margot, I from the movie, I learned that your hair loss is a result of the chemotherapy, and after you recover from cancer, I guess so I'm just very curious about this experience of like lost hair and being able to later on after you recover regain your hair. How does that then change some of your relationship with your hair, or in terms of how you experience your identity as like a hair loss patient before versus right now? Yeah.
Sure. Thank you for the question. I guess I'd say like I will never ever take my hair for granted ever again. I did for the first 22 years of my life, and then it was in an instant gone. I don't think anyone would ever be prepared for that if they haven't experienced it. It's a completely different situation. Shaving your own head out of like for like fun or just for a big chop or something like that versus, kind of not having an option, not having a choice. It can be really traumatic, and I think it affected my view of myself in a major way. When I lost it, it was so abrupt. I knew it was coming, of course, but it was just like there was no way to prepare for how it felt. I felt very unlike myself. I felt like my femininity was gone. I felt like I was completely out of control of my body. I felt, extremely vulnerable without a wig. I spent the first 2 weeks after being diagnosed running around the city trying to find a wig that was suitable for me. And it was just a complete and total mess, really disappointing, and did not yield anything close to what I was expecting. But, I ended up finding a wig that I ended up, paying for, and my dad paid for it. But, it was over my budget, but not, not like wigs like cranial prosthetics that are made for people with total hair loss or significant hair loss. So anyway, yeah, it was really, really difficult, and it made a big enough impression on me to decide that I did not want other people to have to deal with what I went through, because it became clear to me very quickly throughout my experience that other women, and not just women with cancer, but women with all types of involuntary hair loss, were dealing with the same thing that I was dealing with. But what's worse is that it's, long-term or chronic, and no one really seems to know anything about it, and no one seems to know that there's an issue. So that was kind of what the catalyst of what, it drove me to start Woven. Part of what we do is we provide ethically sourced options for women, specifically, cranial prosthetics, but wigs, extensions, hair pieces, whatever a person may need to make themselves feel like themselves. But I put an emphasis on options because that's what's important. It's not about feeling like you have to wear a wig. That's completely, up to that person. It's a very individual, personal choice that can fluctuate day to day. There were some days where I was like, oh yeah, I'm just going to go out and not wear a wig. And then by the end of the day, I would come home exhausted, like just mentally exhausted, because people stare and you notice them staring, and maybe they talk to you about whatever they might feel like you're going through, and people mean well, they do. No one's doing this out of like spite for the most part, but it's tiresome. And it wasn't about me trying to feel pretty, or anything like that. It was me just wanting to blend in and just look, quote unquote normal, just like everyone else. But that didn't really feel possible to me without a wig. So I just had it. I had my wig as a safety net, and that was that meant literally everything to me, because that gave me the opportunity to go to the store, get what I need, come home, and not have to deal with anyone, or feel exposed. So that's just what I'm trying to offer to women. And while Woven is not helping all women in the world, we hope to be able to one day do that with what we can do. So yeah, that's kind of how I've tried to do what I can to make things any amount better.
Can I say, one of the things that I'm still going through, I guess, in the summer when it's hot, I don't bother. I'm free, I'm comfortable, I'm not perspiring, but there's still that femininity that comes with hair. It's not a deliberate thing. I mean, it's just part of who we're cultured to become, or as we're coming up, like you said, for years, that was our glory. But in the wintertime, my hat has strands. In the wintertime, I can curl my hat. In the wintertime, I wear waves. In the wintertime, I wear straight back or to the side or with a flip, or, So in the wintertime, my identity doesn't actually change. It just becomes more flexible within the bounds of having hair. My spectrum for appearance gets wider. I can leave it. I can go somewhere that's 90 degrees from outside in a sweater and come in and it's really hot in there. I can take my hair off if I want to. I stopped thinking of it as something that had control of me, which I had to appear in, which was necessary for my mental health or something. I just think of it as an accessory. Not the wig is an accessory, hair is an accessory. I don't have to have it to be happy. And that took a long time to get to. Remember, you guys are still in your 20s and 30s. Oh my God. But you'll get here if you want to get here. It's no trauma once you stop making it necessary to make you. Nothing makes you but what's inside of you. The rest of the stuff is trappings. It's a hat.
That's true.
Thank you so much. Go ahead, Margot.
Oh, I was just agreeing with Leah. Very true. It's all about what's inside of you.
Yeah, that's really beautifully said. Yeah. When I was watching the movie, another thing I'm really curious about is also, I think all of you guys kind of mentioned about this healing process, or this process of, like, achieving inner acceptance and growth. I noticed from the movie that, for example, with Ebony, like your mom, shows up in the movie a couple times, and she talked about some stories when you were younger. And also Margot, I saw your dad a little bit in the movie. And I'm just curious about, like, in terms of your healing journey and personal growth, how does significant connection and relationship that support you, or that helped or in this process?
Thank you so much for that question. One thing that has helped me is growing up in a Christian-based home. My mom has always instilled faith, as well as my late grandmother, and she used to pray for me often, because she was with me through this entire journey up until she passed. And I am definitely grateful for the many seeds that were planted over the years, because I've always been very self conscious, very uncomfortable. And having these different talks with my mom, encouraging me to not let other people's opinions, their comments get to me, because I've had different situations where people have said some very rude and hurtful things. Um, One thing about dealing with alopecia, many people assume that you have cancer, of course, and I've had to fight off, the cancer rumors and things of that nature. Um, it's challenging. It really is. I'm very grateful also for the amount of support that I have. I come from a huge family. I have a great group of friends who love on me, and even those who have bullied me over the years have come back and apologized to me for the way they've treated me over the years, which was very shocking to me because, having a hair loss condition, you would think that people would be more sensitive to you, but people just don't know how to handle that.
Mhm.
So I'm very grateful for the amount of love and support from my family and friends, and even from some of my church family.
Thank you.
Yeah, I think I was not as forthcoming with my diagnosis as I wanted to be. At the time, everything was happening really fast. And like I said, I didn't really feel like I had a lot of control over my situation, my health, what was happening to my body. And that led me to kind of go within. So, of course, my family, my immediate family, knew about what was happening to me. But as far as like my friends, I think I only told a select few people. And I think that was because I didn't want people to see me in a certain way. Just like Andrea was saying, it changes the way people treat you, it changes the way people see you, or it can, you know. And I wanted to avoid any kind of pity or, any feelings of. I think I just didn't want to be very vulnerable, but that was a lonely experience for me. And I'd like to think that at this point in my life, God forbid if something like that did happen again, that I would maybe be more open about it so that I could receive the kind of support that I really needed during that time. But the friends that I did tell were very supportive. And, I had one of my closest friends at the time who came to almost like every chemo treatment with me. And, I was open with her about, I was able to, show my bald head to her, which was a big deal. So, but I will say, like, dating around that time was weird. And I think that it can be, and it's I imagine a real struggle for those that are experiencing long-term hair loss. Like, when do you, like Andrea, I think you mentioned it in the documentary, like when does that conversation come up? I had a similar conversation about, lack of breasts, but, it's weird. Do you say it? Do you blurt it out on your first date? That's kind of what I did. I think, I don't know, but it's all just very confusing, and there's no guidebook. There's no, manual, and you just kind of have to navigate it on your own. And I think we come out stronger for it. I do, even though it's a struggle and it's not easy, and it's, there's some days where it's extremely hard. Yeah, it can be difficult, but yeah, I think support is a really, really big part of healing.
Thank you, Margot.
Sure.
I got a lot of support because I made the people closest to me, some of them, laugh about it. I'm, like I came out and I said, well, now it's time for the show. And I came out and I did my wig like part of a costume, like, and there we go, and it was a surprise to them, but they knew I was sick. They didn't know I had gone bald because this is a construct of my own. I shaved my head because I had many spots where the hair was missing and was not going to grow back. When I was dating, that was funny. I think we were necking in the car, and when I came up, my hair was like crooked. And he was like, what's going on? And it wasn't just that I had hair under it and my wig was crooked. It was that there was nothing under there. And that kind of broke the ice for me because I had to come up with something. I had to swim or sink. I just decided to tell him, I have an illness. It took my hair out. I shaved my head. It is my way of controlling what I have no control of. It's my way of rectifying the rough edges that keep me from being acceptable in my own eyes. I'm neat. I'm particular about my appearance. A sprig of hair here, a hair here, and a sprig of hair there would not have been adequate. Not that I'm balding, not that I have a disease, not that I have problems finding a wig that fits, just that I have control now over this. When I shave my head and come outside and the sun is shining, I'm just as happy as I am if I have hair or in the wintertime. It means that you have not just accepted your condition, but gone as far as to find a remedy for it. And if you can find support in finding the remedy, you know who your friends are. You have support from that network. My son gave me my first real boost in this condition, and that was, he was maybe 2, not quite. This was 20 years ago. He was 2, and I was feeling very vulnerable without my hair, without control of my body, like Margot was saying. And he just touched my head and he said, Mommy, I love you. I said, but Mommy's bald. He said, I love you. And he touched me all over my head. And he, Mommy, I love you. I was hooked. That's okay. I must be fine. I'm gorgeous. Look. From him, from his support. And his father has always been supportive. And it means a great deal to have it. But this group has generated more support for each other than I think we've had from the conglomerate of all our friends from all over, because this is a confirmation, kind of affirmation for all of us. And the support that we get from each other will continue even when we're far apart and out of communication, because we have this common bond, and we are going to continue to have it. I love you, all of you.
Thank you so much. And Leah, thanks so much for bringing so much humor, and like also bring a lot of like smiles on our face. And I feel definitely you embody what you just mentioned at the beginning of like that piece of joy, and that 100% acceptance of who you are and that comfort in your own body. And I feel you showed us that. And thank you so much.
Wait, Tracy, I can't say my own body because I'm fat now.
I think you're beautiful.
I gained 20 pounds during the pandemic, girl.
Oh, I can relate to
What
that.
am I gonna do?
Can relate.
So we're approaching the end of our time today, and we still have 3 minutes left. So I'm just wondering, for all the panelists, if there's anything you would like to share to each other or to the audience, or to yourself. I feel this could be the time.
Yeah, thanks for watching, and to anybody who maybe felt like they were alone, not just in hair loss, but in anything that makes you feel other or makes you feel kind of set apart from other people. Just know that there are other people out there, and you may not see them on their face, but I feel like everybody kind of has a thing that makes them feel maybe alone or othered or separate, and just know that other people can relate to you more than you know.
Yeah.
That's beautifully said, Andrea. Completely agree. And if I could piggyback off of that, just like you said, everyone has a thing. We all have a thing, and they might not be visible, but there are other people. So, it's easy to feel alone. But I'm just so grateful that Andrea has created this because it just makes it very apparent. We can all relate on different levels. And then also, and Leah, you mentioned this, we are all beautiful inside and out. And our beauty, it really is who we are inside. I've come to learn that over the last several years that, we are not our bodies, we're not our hair, we're not this, this outward, thing that we walk around with all the day. We are, beautiful souls inside and out. So just remember that.
Thank you.
I was writing the post to share the film, and that was exactly what I said, is that now if you felt alone, there's proof that you're not alone. And I wanted people to accept this film and embrace this film because it allows for what people aren't talking about, and which is really a very real part of the lives that many of us live every day. And we do need that support, even if it's just from our prayers and our faith, but also from the public at large. As they become aware of us, things that we need will become more available. And that's got to be a boon for all of us. Thank you for having us all.
Thank you.
Yes. And I definitely agree with everyone. Everyone has a thing. We all have stories. We've been somewhere. And I'm extremely grateful that I'm at a point in my life where I can finally talk about it. I've been taught that much of what we go through in life is not for us, but it's for someone else. And I'm so happy that we're all connected. We've been through similar situations. And now I have people messaging me on social media saying, I was diagnosed with alopecia recently, or I've had it for this amount of years. How did you get through it? How did you cope? Where can I go for this amount of support or information? And I'm grateful that I can be that pillar of strength for those throughout the alopecia community. But I am so blessed and honored to be a part of this project. Thanks again so much. And I'm looking forward to being with you guys in the near future.
Thank you, guys. And sing.
Thank you very much.
So make sure
you guys stop. Oh, stop. I got a page called Lupus Rap. Stop and drop a line on Lupus Rap on Facebook.
Awesome.
So this is our talk today, and thanks so much for watching. And make sure go check out the movie. It's a great film at headtoheadfilm.com. And thanks so much for all your time, all the panelists, and for showing up today. Definitely it's a learning journey, and I learned a lot from you guys. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
This was great.
Thank you.
Love you guys.
It's good to see you guys. I hate to let you go. Bye.
The 2020 Minority Health Film Festival offers a diverse variety of films and events that we just wouldn't be able to offer in the in-person cinema experience. But I think what really makes it unique is the focus not only on public health issues, but the issues that really concern communities of color. If you're looking for a reason to engage or to try it out, this is the perfect time. Just go to mkefilm.org/MHFF